I copied you today.
How did you copy me?
Got my hat on.
And the white top.
Got my hat on. Yeah,
We got loads to talk about. So should we go straight into it?
let's do it.
So I wanted to talk about our experience at I say recent, it feels like it was a long time ago now, but the podcast show. So we went to the London podcast show in London, obviously. And yeah, let's talk about what we learned, what it was like, kind of our impressions, and then some of our takeaways. I think a lot of people are quite interested to hear. When I posted that we were there, I think there was a lot of interest in going, oh yeah, share what you've learned. There's seems to be a lot of interest in and around the world and business of podcasting. And certainly from obviously our perspective, it's something that we have spent a lot of our recent time investing in. So it was great to go there and just see what's actually happening out there. So kick us off. What were your thoughts on the podcast show?
I thought the hype was quite good in the kind of build up on the website. I got really excited about the app and got very organized, looking at which, topics and sessions we wanted to attend, especially some of the creator events for female podcasters was quite cool for me. There were some relatively famous podcasters it was exciting to see them in the space and see them talk on stage, and I was really looking forward to that. And I got to meet someone from Podbean, so I was really excited, the head of events, Norma Jean, and you could find other podcasters on the app, and book meetings with people if you want to catch up with people. And they have a special location in the conference area where you can meet up and network with people. So when we booked it, I was really excited. I was looking forward to it. We didn't look forward to the rain on the day that we arrived, standard London day, pouring outside and waiting in the queue. But it was overall like a really fun event. And I feel like attending the event reinvigorated my hype for podcasting and has led to other things that we'll talk about later in this episode. But I think sort of March, April time, I had worked so hard on batch recording and editing and publishing and just driving things forward with the podcast that I was a little bit burnt out, and then attending this event helped me realize a few things. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I've been, similarly invested in, I've been employed now to manage effectively a podcast on behalf of other people. And so I've been heavily in the podcast production space. But you're right, when I've been doing that consistently now since September 2023. So here we are in June now, sitting here recording this 2024. So 6, 7, 8, 8 months of continuously working in and around that space, not only just working on Pharmacist Diaries, on the Anisha and Sanjay show, but the other podcasts that I'm creating outside of this as well. You do get your head down and you kind of don't step back. And, before when I wasn't doing it full time, I'd watch YouTube videos about it. I'd be listening to podcasts about it. But when you're actually just in the throes of working, you just get your head down. You got the blinkers on, right? So it was great to step back and go and meet other people who are on this same journey. I think that's the biggest thing. Podcasting, for me anyway, even though we do it together, it's a lonely business.
Absolutely.
You are spending a lot of that time when we're not sitting here in front of each other recording. You're editing your podcast, you're creating clips, you're doing thumbnails, you're doing social media, and I'm doing the same, not only for us, but also for clients. And that part of it is quite lonely because that's most of the time. So to go, and then that's where you come up with the frustrations. We rarely stop in the middle of a chat and say, "Oh, this was rubbish, let's stop recording," or "Don't do it." Right? We're having a good time doing it, so we get on with it. It's afterwards or before where the problems start to come. Like just before this, I had some issues with the audio, so I had to fix that. Afterwards, I might have some issues with light or something else that I would have realized in production, or we can't come up with a thumbnail idea. That's when you come up with, this is becoming. You feel like you're on your own. So to go out there and meet people who are all going through that same journey, they're having the same problems as you. Others are what you see as a problem to someone else. Oh no, I have a solution for that. So just to meet people and talk about the journey with others in person, in real life, which is great. I think was fantastic. I was really surprised how many overseas visitors there were. In fact, I think most of the people I met were not from the UK, which just goes to show how big the London podcast show is. And a lot of people did. I was like, why did you come to London? Surely US, and US has got, I think the podcast movement is the big one in the US, which we would hopefully try to get to one day. And they were just saying that they just wanted to see something different. They've always wanted to come to London, and then they just wanted to see how we're doing it differently over here, which is interesting because you don't often, I've not often come across that. But it was nice to see from that perspective. So yeah, it was good. What were my expectations going in? I think what I wanted to go there to understand is, how do we take this to the next level? And for us, that means monetization, right? How do we now take this thing that we've built up and we still enjoy doing, but it's costing us money? Let's be honest. We're not making a profit. As soon as you say I wanted to start a podcast, the money starts leaving your bank account in the forms of subscriptions and all sorts of other things, which you happily, we've happily paid for. But then you kind of have to get to a point, okay, let me see if I can recoup some of those costs. So monetization for us is a big thing, and that's what I wanted to go into that event to understand. So I tried to attend as many talks and as many workshops as possible that were to do with advertising, monetization. I left a little bit not satisfied. I'll be honest. I didn't feel like I left there with a clear strategy of what is it that I need to do next, or what other things that we're not doing that we should be doing. What I did leave with is kind of confirmation that all the things that we are already doing and we were already planning on doing, right? The whole dynamic ad insertion stuff, the call to actions, that was already in our Asana project, in our to-do list from a long time back. We just hadn't got to the round to implementing it, but it just solidified, oh yeah, I actually do know what I'm doing, right? And I think that's important. Sometimes you feel like, am I doing the right thing? And it just validated, because a lot of the talks were based around strategies that we've already adopted or already are about to adopt. So I felt my main takeaway really is that I personally felt that the show was great if you were a brand new podcaster, if you hadn't even started your podcast, or you had just launched your podcast and you really kind of wanted to understand, the nuts and bolts and the kind of basic to intermediate level. I think it was great for that, because I remember even looking at you in a couple of the talks, which we went to based on the titles, and that was another thing which was misleading, which we could talk about. But we sat there, and the first 15 minutes was like the real basics of podcasting, right? I remember one was like, what is a podcast? That was the first question that they covered. And I was just thinking, okay, right, this is clearly not meant for audiences like myself. So I didn't leave with amazing new ideas, but I did feel more invigorated. I agree with you on that. I felt more, oh yeah. So, and it's also made us actually, which we'll talk about next, put into action some of the things we were already going to do, but we kind of maybe were holding back on, or weren't finding the time to prioritize. And now we're like, oh no, we need to do this. This is the next thing for us. And I think that show just helped us to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. When I look back at the last 6 to 8 months, like you said, I was grinding in terms of getting episodes out there. And the reason why was because I was frustrated with myself and not having consistency with episode releases once a week for 3 years. And I really wanted to get to the point where my productivity and my efficiency allowed me to release an episode every single Monday without fail. And since end of August 2023, I have achieved that goal, which is great. And I'm really happy about that. And I dove headfirst trying to figure out strategies to make that happen with the batch producing, batch editing, batch show note creation, creating all my clips and everything. So I want to focus on other things. Like you said, monetization is something that we have been thinking about, looking at, and not knowing necessarily exactly where to start. And we were hoping that the podcast show would give us all the education that we need. So it was a little bit frustrating, but the reassurance that we got that we've been doing all the right things for all the right reasons and in the right format was amazing. I was so happy with that. And I think that just made me realize I know way more than I expected. I stood in a queue for coffee for 15 minutes with 2 NHS employees who I started chatting with and was telling them about my podcast. And they were blown away by how much knowledge I had, how much experience I had, obviously, because they're in the start of their journey. They hadn't even started yet. They just had an idea. And they were really excited about being at the podcast show and learning so much. But it was also quite overwhelming for them because they don't know where to look and where to start and what's the most important thing to kind of get you on that journey. And they were so kind. They bought me a free coffee and you a free coffee, just for providing them with so much information. And there were a few other women who had started podcasts, really successful, mums who have kind of stopped working in their 9-to-5 career, started podcasts that I met in conversation. And they were so excited to see other females smashing it in the podcast world. And that initial talk that we went to gave us an overview of what's happening in the podcast space, how growth is occurring on a global scale. There's more women listening to podcasts than males, which was an interesting fact. And, that gave me more reassurance again, because most of my audience are females. So it just gave me that reassurance that we're doing all the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those things, like I said, we've now kind of put up to the top of our priority list of things that we would do. But I want to second what you said about just, it made me realize, actually made me appreciate how much I do know about this really very, very, very new business. If you think about it from a business perspective, podcasting has not been on the scene that long, compared to, okay, it's probably older than being a YouTuber. I mean, if that's a new wave kind of career, but it's along those lines, isn't it? It's quite a new thing. So to have so much knowledge, and yeah, you're right. Speaking to people when we were networking, I went to actually a really fantastic networking event for podcasting for people of color, so people of indigenous populations and ethnic minorities. There was a great networking group there that invited me to a lunch. It was a sponsored lunch, and just speaking to people there, and again, people who are on different missions, but they're all on different stages of their journey. But a lot of them, like you said, were really impressed and, oh, wow, you've done so much, and you kind of think, well, yeah, actually, you're right, I have, because we don't stop and take stock as much. So that has kind of, I think I've always known that I know a lot about this stuff, and I think getting this job that I have now, where someone's actually paying me full time to go and do video production for them, has solidified that, even though I had clients before freelance. But I think what I really enjoy, and I know you really enjoy, is teaching people and coaching people. And that's the one thing I miss from what I was doing in a previous life, where I was a health coach, a personal trainer. I miss that coaching interaction. I miss helping people with their day-to-day, obstacles that they're having, and switching that to podcasting. We've been thinking about ways that which we can extend that knowledge. And of course, there's social media and there's YouTube and lots of different ways. But that really prompted us to start our free LinkedIn newsletter, all about podcasting, which is called Behind the Mic. And the reason that we decided to start that was exactly as I said. We want to give back to all the creators out there that we know that are interested in podcasting, have thought about it, or have even started on the journey, but they're coming stuck when it comes to maybe technical issues, or maybe being consistent, maybe time management. And we've gone through a lot of those struggles and those journeys, and we're still going through them. They're not going to stop. But we thought we want to find a way to share that information, and that's the Behind the Mic newsletter.
I love Behind the Mic newsletter. I'm so proud of that, even though we have 5 articles out. But I'm really proud that I have a little space now to share my wisdom. I've been sharing my wisdom within pharmacy and careers and pediatrics. But when I talk about podcasting, I do get quite excited. It really does light me up. I found something that I genuinely enjoy. Thanks to you.
You're welcome.
So, I'm seeing a pivot in myself as well. I've had the last 6 months where I'm not in a full-time employed job anymore. I've had a little bit more headspace to think about what's next and where I want to spend my time. And I follow a pharmacist on LinkedIn, Jamie Wilkie, who's now one of my good friends. And she consistently posts about a similar topic every single day on LinkedIn. And she actually teaches you how to consistently post about the same topic every day on LinkedIn. And the more I read her newsletter, the more I read her posts and everything was resonating with me, the more I realized that I want to talk more about podcasting. There are so many healthcare professionals, pharmacists, pharmacy students that follow me who could easily start a podcast. And maybe they've thought about content creation or creating a YouTube channel, but they don't know where to start. And part of this is to help people understand that actually we can break it down for you. We can simplify the process. We can give you a step-by-step guide as to how to start with just the tools that you have at home. And so far, we've got nearly 1,400 subscribers to the newsletter in such a short space of time. I mean, it just blew me away. Yeah, so from the back of the newsletter, I wanted to find a way to engage with those subscribers because they can chat with you through LinkedIn and leave comments. But after being so alone with podcasting, like you said, after attending a massive event where you can see how much impact there is with community, I thought, why don't I create my own?
So we'll talk a bit more about the community and our exciting plans for what we're going to talk about within the community after these messages from our partners and sponsors. Navigating the supplement market can be a bit of a nightmare. I know as a personal trainer, I used to get asked questions about this all of the time. Well, this is why we've teamed up with the Naked Pharmacy. Anisha, tell us why we've decided to team up with Naked Pharmacy and what's so special about them.
Well, the CEO and founder of the Naked Pharmacy is a pharmacist. And just like me, I want to support someone within my own profession. But I'm super excited that he's got 40 years of experience within natural medicines and is sourcing his ingredients, which are completely plant-based. There's no artificial ingredients within the products that he uses. And he's sourcing them from the most incredible places on the planet. And I've been using the products myself personally and really enjoying them, so I recommend them to you as well.
So head on over to the Naked Pharmacy and we've got an exclusive deal for you. You get 20% off all of your Naked Pharmacy purchases using the code THEASS. That's THEASS. You'll find all the links in the show notes for this episode. Okay, welcome back. So we were just teasing about the community that we are creating off the back of the LinkedIn newsletter. So Anisha, do you want to tell us a bit more about that community?
It's called Behind the Mic, and we've made a free community because we genuinely want to be able to help people on their journey. And we also want to understand what people's problems are. What exactly are they facing, or what frustrations are they going through that we can help solve? So joining the community for free is a great way to engage with us and with each other, meet other podcasters so that you don't have to be alone on the journey, that you've got other people to support you, to guide you. You've got people that you can ask questions. If you've got a podcast and you're looking for guests, you've got people in the community that you can say, hey, I need a guest for blah, blah, blah. Is anyone willing to come onto my show? And that engagement is something that's really important for me as well, because I want to see other people thrive in this space. And we've decided that not only are there kind of chat groups similar to like a Facebook group where you can engage with each other, you build yourself a profile so you can give as much or as little detail about yourself. But of course, it's really nice to add your photo, add a little bit of background about who you are, what your podcast is about, or even what your idea is about. And then you have the option of adding an email or all of your social media links. So you've got a little profile page. You can DM people within the community and direct message people to say, hey, or try and find out more information about them. Maybe you want to collaborate with them or ask them a question. But I think the most exciting part is that we've got a space where we can do live Q&A sessions or workshops. We can invite expert speakers into the community to come and talk about certain products or apps that we use like Riverside or Squadcast, Descript. All of these people can come and educate our community on what they have to offer. And these apps are all around recording and podcast production, but we could also ask members of the community to come and talk about their own podcasting journey. what has helped them with growth or marketing, or what elements of the podcast have been really successful, and share their tips. I was thinking about what I would call that little section in the middle of the night the other day, actually. It's so weird. But sometimes my ideas come through at the most random times. And then we are looking to have resources. So we've got some templates, some checklists, some things that will kind of kickstart your journey within the podcasting space. But at the moment, we are trying to engage with our current members to find out what their problems are. And we are creating video content to help support them on that journey. And you being a tech expert, you've also got so much expertise to share.
Yeah, so just to be clear, so there's a newsletter that's on LinkedIn, right? So that's also called Behind the Mic, just not to make this even more complicated. But we wanted to engage with that community a little bit more, or even outside of that community, so that we have created this free online community based on the Circle platform, if anyone knows about Circle. And there you have your own app that you can log into. We have our own spaces, as you said. We're going to have our resources and our chats and our Q&A. So everything's going to be within the app. And it's free, and that's really important to us for it to be free because, I'm more than happy to have conversations with people about what they need to do to get started on their journey, what equipment they need, how they need to start editing, whether they want to do video, audio. But I just thought it's better to have those conversations in a space where people actually want to listen rather than kind of me going out there and just talking about it without any engagement. And also by doing it through the community, as you quite rightly said, I can find out what people want to know, right? Where are they having issues? Where are they having stumbling blocks? And then we can create, or I can create content and do Q&As based around what people's pain points are. So I think that's really important. And it also just gives us a space to try out different ideas as well. And I think it's important for us to have people that will have done things differently. And I think this is important. Like I said, when we went to the podcast show and met other creators, you realize, someone else is going through the same struggle as well. I wonder how they dealt with it. So having a space where there are others who have been on that journey, where you can just get some comfort from, actually, yeah, like I said, I am doing the right thing, or, oh no, I do need to change my strategy. So I think that's really important. So for me, what I want to start off with is I'm going to start to create a lot of content around, and you kind of touched on this earlier, around how you can create a podcast right now without spending that much money, right? And I think that's a big part of it, which I know because we know a lot of people in the healthcare space, and we know that people that work in public healthcare in the UK, that they are not paid as much as they should be. So finances and budgeting is a really important factor. So when people think about podcasting, and then they just look at the cost of some of these subscriptions or some of the tools or the equipment they need, it does put them off. And I want to show people that actually you don't need to really spend a penny. You can do it for free. And like you said, you've already got the tools at home. So that's going to be a little series that I'm really excited to create just to kick things off. And then, yes, I will be going into a lot more detail about, editing and creating the podcast and setting up your studio. And if people want to know about cameras and multicam and lighting, and I can't wait to start making that content. But I don't want to start creating the stuff that I think is exciting, because people are going to just be on a different part of their journey, and I don't want to overwhelm people, right? You don't have to do things the way that I'm doing them. That's also really important. And I didn't start doing things in this way. And I've said this many a time. My first episode was recorded with my phone and my AirPods, which was terrible audio. You can go and listen to it. Episode 1 of season 1 of this podcast. So yeah, it's super exciting. We can't wait to get more people on board there. You don't even have to be a podcaster, right? It could be something you're interested in, or you just want to learn, or you just want to feel inspired for ideas. Come along and join the community. And there's kind of no obligation there. So super excited to see more and more people joining. And yeah, we're excited about creating more and more content for that platform.
Love it. And we've got quite a few members in there already, and they are engaging with us. They're telling us what their main, frustrations are with the podcast journey. And it's giving us some really good ideas to kickstart. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned about having some of the members of the community come forward and talk about their journeys. I mean, I'm thinking of turning that into a podcast itself, We can Diary of a Podcaster or whatever. We can find a name that's not already commercially popular. But something like that, yeah, just to showcase, and who knows? I'm just thinking out loud here. There's so many ideas, but yeah, more to come on that. Watch this space. So we've got a lot to do, a lot of work ahead of us. We've just added a lot more things to our to-do list. And of course, someone's probably thinking, how on earth are you going to fit all of this into your already busy lives? And it's a very good point. So stay tuned until the next episode, where we will talk about how we are going to fit all of this in, how we're going to claim back several hours from our existing workflow to dedicate to doing these new and exciting projects. So stay tuned until next time.